Krakow, a city steeped in history, its cobblestone streets echoing with the footsteps of kings and conquerors. Krakow, with its rich tapestry of stories, has always been a place where the past and present intertwine seamlessly. The echoes of ancient battles, royal processions, and the daily lives of its citizens have left an indelible mark on its streets. The majestic Wawel Castle, overlooking the Vistula River, stood as a testament to Poland's rich past. This fortress, with its imposing walls and grand halls, has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the coronation of kings, and the forging of alliances. It is a symbol of resilience and strength, a beacon of hope for the people of Krakow. The city, having endured the trials of time, possessed an ageless beauty, its spirit unbroken. The narrow alleyways, the bustling market squares, and the serene parks all tell a story of a city that has weathered countless storms. Each building, each cobblestone, holds a piece of Krakow's soul, a testament to its enduring legacy. Krakow, in the 1960s, was a beacon of culture and resilience, emerging from the shadow of World War II with renewed hope. The scars of war were still visible, but the city was determined to rebuild and reclaim its place as a cultural hub. Theaters, museums, and galleries flourished, and the streets were filled with the sounds of music and laughter. But beneath the veneer of normalcy, a darkness was brewing. The city, while vibrant and alive, was not immune to the undercurrents of fear and uncertainty that plagued the post-war world. Shadows lurked in the corners, and whispers of unrest began to spread. A string of unexplained attacks began to plague the city, shattering its newfound tranquility. These incidents, seemingly random and without motive, left the citizens bewildered and afraid. The once safe streets of Krakow became a place of unease, where every stranger was viewed with suspicion. Fear, like a chilling fog, started to seep into the heart of Krakow, casting long shadows over its vibrant streets. The laughter that once filled the air was replaced by hushed conversations and furtive glances. The city, once a beacon of hope, was now gripped by a palpable sense of dread. The citizens, once optimistic and hopeful, found themselves looking over their shoulders, their sense of security shaken to its core. The sense of community that had defined Krakow was eroding, replaced by a pervasive sense of mistrust. Neighbors who once greeted each other warmly now exchanged wary glances. The attacks were as brutal as they were baffling, leaving the city grappling with a chilling question: who or what was responsible? The authorities were at a loss, their investigations yielding no clues. The assailant seemed to strike at will, leaving no trace behind, and the city was left in a state of perpetual fear. The first attack, as sudden and unexpected as a summer storm, sent shockwaves through the community. The victim, a young woman, was found in a secluded alleyway, her injuries so severe that they defied explanation. The brutality of the attack left the city reeling, and the news spread like wildfire. The victim, a young woman walking home after a late shift at the textile factory, was found in a secluded alleyway near Planty Park. Her life, full of promise and potential, was cut short in a moment of unimaginable violence. The community mourned her loss, but the fear that gripped the city was even more profound. Her injuries, inflicted with a savagery that defied explanation, left the city reeling in horror. The brutality of the attack was unlike anything the city had ever seen, and it left a deep scar on the collective psyche of Krakow. The streets, once filled with life, now seemed haunted by the specter of violence. The news spread like wildfire, igniting a firestorm of fear and speculation. Rumors and theories abounded, each more terrifying than the last. The citizens, desperate for answers, clung to any piece of information, no matter how tenuous. The city was awash with fear, and the sense of unease was palpable. The authorities, caught off guard, scrambled to make sense of the crime, but the assailant, leaving no trace behind, seemed to vanish into thin air. The police, despite their best efforts, were unable to find any leads. The lack of evidence only added to the fear and confusion, and the city was left in a state of limbo. As days turned into nights, the specter of the attack loomed large over Krakow. The once bustling streets were now eerily quiet, and the city seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next strike. The fear was all-encompassing, and it seeped into every corner of the city. The once familiar streets now seemed menacing, every shadow a potential hiding place for the unknown assailant. The citizens, once confident and carefree, now moved with caution, their eyes darting to every dark corner. The sense of safety that had defined Krakow was gone, replaced by a pervasive sense of dread. The city, once alive with the laughter of children and the murmur of daily life, grew eerily quiet. The vibrant markets, the lively cafes, and the bustling squares were now deserted. The silence was deafening, and it only served to heighten the sense of fear that gripped the city. The carefree spirit that had defined Krakow was replaced by an unsettling tension, a collective holding of breath as if the city itself was bracing for another blow. The sense of community, once so strong, was now fractured, and the city was left to grapple with the fear and uncertainty that had taken hold. The victim, Maria K., was a textile worker at the sprawling plant just outside the city center. She was known for her bright smile and quiet demeanor, a dutiful daughter who helped her widowed mother. On the night of the attack, she had volunteered for an extra shift, eager to contribute to the family's meager income. As she made her way home, the familiar route along the edge of Planty Park, usually bustling with evening strollers, was eerily deserted. Maria, clutching her worn purse close, quickened her pace, her senses heightened by an unfamiliar unease. A sudden rustle in the bushes sent a shiver down her spine. Before she could react, a dark figure lunged from the shadows, a heavy object crashing down on her head. Maria crumpled to the ground, her scream swallowed by the night. The assailant, shrouded in darkness, struck again and again, a whirlwind of violence that ended as abruptly as it began. The discovery of Maria's body the next morning sent shockwaves through Krakow. The brutality of the crime, the sheer viciousness of the attack, was unheard of in the city's recent memory. Rumors, fueled by fear and speculation, spread like wildfire. The authorities, tight-lipped and visibly shaken, launched a full-scale investigation, but the assailant had vanished without a trace. The city, once a symbol of resilience and hope, found itself held captive to an invisible terror. The attack on Maria K. was not an isolated incident. Days later, a similar attack occurred on the opposite side of the city. This time, the victim was a young student, returning home from a late-night study session. He, too, was found brutally beaten, left for dead in a secluded alleyway. The modus operandi was chillingly familiar, the brutality of the attack bearing the hallmarks of the same unseen hand. Krakow, once a city bathed in the warm glow of history and culture, was now shrouded in the cold grip of fear. The authorities, facing mounting pressure to find the perpetrator, increased their patrols, their presence a constant reminder of the invisible threat lurking in the shadows. The once vibrant nightlife of Krakow dimmed as residents, heeding the warnings, retreated indoors after dark. The streets, once teeming with life, were now eerily deserted, the silence broken only by the echoing footsteps of the police patrols and the hushed whispers of worried citizens. The attacks, brutal and seemingly random, had sown seeds of fear and suspicion among the populace. Neighbors, once friendly and trusting, now eyed each other with suspicion, their conversations laced with anxiety and apprehension. The shared sense of vulnerability created a palpable tension in the air, a collective unease that permeated every aspect of daily life. The city, once a tapestry of shared experiences and communal bonds, was slowly unraveling, thread by thread. The newspapers, their headlines screaming of the unsolved crimes, became both a source of information and a catalyst for fear. Every detail, every speculation, was poured over and debated endlessly, fueling the flames of anxiety. Theories abounded, ranging from the plausible to the outlandish, each one adding to the growing sense of unease. The authorities, despite their best efforts, seemed no closer to finding the perpetrator, their frustration mirrored in the grim faces of the city's residents. As weeks turned into months, the attacks continued, their frequency and brutality escalating with each passing incident. The victims, seemingly chosen at random, came from all walks of life: factory workers, students, shopkeepers, retirees. The only commonality was the savagery of the attacks and the chilling precision with which they were carried out. The city, once a symbol of hope and resilience, was now held hostage by an unknown terror, its spirit slowly being crushed under the weight of fear and uncertainty. The city council, desperate to quell the rising panic, implemented a citywide curfew. As darkness descended, Krakow transformed into a ghost town, its streets deserted save for the omnipresent police patrols and the occasional stray dog. The curfew, while intended to protect the citizens, also served as a constant reminder of their vulnerability, a stark symbol of the fear that had permeated every aspect of their lives. The once bustling marketplace, the heart of Krakow's social life, was now eerily quiet. Stalls that once overflowed with colorful fabrics, fresh produce, and handcrafted goods stood empty, their owners too afraid to risk their lives for their livelihoods. The laughter and chatter that once filled the air were replaced by an unsettling silence, broken only by the mournful tolling of church bells. The psychological toll on the city's residents was immeasurable. The constant fear, the ever-present threat of violence had seeped into their homes, their families, their very being. Sleep became a luxury few could afford, haunted by nightmares of shadowy figures and unseen attackers. Trust, once the bedrock of their community, eroded with each passing day, replaced by suspicion and paranoia. The authorities, despite their best efforts, seemed powerless to stop the attacks. The assailant, a phantom blending seamlessly into the fabric of the city, remained elusive. Frustration and fear gnawed at the city's leaders, their pronouncements of reassurance ringing hollow in the face of the unrelenting terror. Krakow, once a beacon of hope, was now a city under siege, its citizens trapped in a nightmare with no end in sight.